So for our final stat project, we will be doing on the average RN salaries. This project will be done by Hadley, Nick, Grace, and Ethan. And then the first slide we're doing it is on the data collection, significance, and population. Between the years of 2010 through 2015, the average salary of a registered nurse RN fluctuates between the average salary of 63,000 through about 72,000 per year. This type of study is qualitative. In the corner, we put a little bar graph, no, a bar chart of all the different years and the different salaries. We see that in 2010, the average salary is 67,725, but then we see throughout over the years we see a little bit of a rise. The next is the exploratory data analysis. I created a bar graph to show the averages in the years. We see between 2010 to 2015 there is an incline in salaries, but we also see a pattern where that when one year the salaries go up, the next year they go down a little bit.
Okay, while calculating our data sets, we calculated the mean, mode, median, and the standard deviation of our variance. I'm not really sure how to invert this, but when we did our calculations, we got a mean of 69,614, which what we did was we added all of our data points up and then subtracted by 6 because we had a sample size of 6. And then we had no mode because there was no number reoccurring more than once or even at all. Then the median we had to go more in depth of because we had an even number. We had to go between the numbers of, I cannot remember what the two numbers were off the top of my head, but the number that we did get for them was 69,451. Which, if you look more in depth over here, there would be more of the more written work that we did for it, and which this is more of the standard deviation work, which I'm about to get into, and the standard deviation that we got for this data set was 36.22. It shows the dispersion, I apologize, of the data points around the mean, and then we got a variance of 1312.02. That variance showed the squared result of the standard deviation that represented the average deviation that was wrapped around the mean of our data point. Oh, okay, if we go back down over here, then our next slide that we will be discussing is the linear regression. I apologize. Linear regression of our data point, which if you look at the top corner right here, this is the formula that I used to get the results I did. While doing the results, I got R equals 0. When I did this, I did X minus the mean, which I just took the 69,000 and I subtracted it by the mean, which if we go back up here and we look, the mean was the 69,614, so I subtracted that from everything. And then I added them all together, got that number, and then as you can see, we then divided it by the SX, which if we then, as I guess this was showing, the SX is the 36.22, which is the standard deviation that was shown before. Then I went ahead and for the Y values, we took the years of the average salaries of the RNs, and when we did that, we added all of those together and then proceeded to get the numbers of, what were the numbers? We added all of them up and then subtracted them by the mean of that, which the mean of that data set was 2012.5. So once we subtracted all of those points from the years that we had calculated from our data point, we then got negative 2.5, negative 1.5, negative 0.5, then 0.5, continuing on. Then I added all of those as well. Our group added all of those together, and we got the answer of 0. Then we took the 0 and put it on top of the standard deviation for each of the data sets, and we multiplied them together, then put that over top of the sample size minus 1. Then we got 0 divided by 5, which in the end we got 0. So with the possibility of us getting 0 for our interpretation, for our linear regression, the interpretation would be resulting in 0. It represents that there's no linear relationship between the two variables, which in our case would be the years that the average salaries are taking place. They have no correlation. The numbers have nothing to do with anything. It is just the year points and the average salaries that have been given.
Continuing on to the inferential statistics, for our confidence interval mean, we got approximately 69,614.5, and we were able to get that number because we approximated between 65,268 and 73,961, so that is the mean of those two numbers. And the standard deviation, we got approximately 40.94, and our interpretation of that was because we got the numbers 24.24 and 57.64. For the variance, we got approximately 1,287.57, and we approximated 586.21 and 1,988.93. So those were the means for all three of those sections that we got in between all of those intervals.
I will be talking about the probability analysis of the RN salary. The first one is probability of the salary being above 70,000 in a given year. So there are three types of outcomes within the numbers. First is 2013, 2015, and 2016. The total number of the possible outcomes is 6. With the math, the answer is 3/6 or 0.5 or 50%. The second one discusses below 70,000 a year. The three outcomes include 2010, 2011, and 2014. There are 6 total outcomes. The answer is 3/6, 0.5, or 50% of the outcome that is under $70,000 a year.